guys, thanks for stopping back by. So I have a cool story to tell you guys that I haven't told on my channel yet. Um, so this takes place a long time ago in a galaxy not so far away. This happened in 2001. So I was 31 years old, and I had a girlfriend at that time who had a best friend, and that best friend had a boyfriend, and that boyfriend's sister worked at Skywalker Ranch. And her job was to catalog everything. All the props. Everything to do with Star Wars. That girl had a job like curating or cataloging stuff for museums. And George Lucas's people wanted someone to catalog all their stuff, and like they were scouting for talent, and they found this girl, and they asked her if she wanted a job. She said yeah. They asked if she was a Star Wars fan, and she said no, and they were like, perfect, and they hired her because they didn't want anybody that would steal shit or whatever. So that dude's sister worked for Lucasfilm, and she told her brother, hey, I can get you and a couple friends passes. I can get you into Skywalker Ranch this weekend because George won't be there. It was like a weekend or a holiday, or it was something where George wasn't going to be there, and a bunch of the higher ups weren't going to be there, and security was supposed to be kind of lax, about as lax as they get at Skywalker Ranch. So the boyfriend, so word got back to my girlfriend. She was like, hey, do you want to go to the Star Wars house, the place where they make all the stuff? Some farm? And I go, you mean the ranch? She was like, yeah, that's it. Luke Skywalker Ranch or something. And I was like, yes. Yeah, I want to go. Let's go. So the four of us drove up there, and it's only about 2.5 hours away from where I live. It's in the Bay Area, and you can't like find it like on a map. So there wasn't like GPS then. And anyway, it's right off this little road, and there's like these high bushes, and you drive past it, and we missed it completely, and we had to turn around and go back, and apparently it's tucked away on purpose, and lots of people who are going there for jobs or whatever, they drive right past it all the time. But it's on like Lucas Drive or like Lucas Street, but I've been told that it was named like Lucas Street or Lucas Avenue before George had bought that chunk of land, that was just a happy coincidence, which I don't know if that's true or not. But anyway, so we finally found it, and you drive through this snaky little road with all these super tall bushes, like they're high like the hedges in The Shining. It's tall so you can't see over it or whatever. And there are fucking cameras everywhere, right? So we drive up to the guard gate, and I shit you not, the guard at the gate has a like a machine gun, like a fully automatic rifle, and he looks out the little window, and his insignia on his arm is a fucking X-wing fighter, and yeah, and it says Skywalker Ranch, and I'm just like staring at everything. I can't believe I'm about to get in, and I'm looking at this guy's cool insignia, and then and I'm looking at the gun, and I'm getting nervous, like, fuck, I don't know if she's breaking company rules, or it was kind of scary there for a minute. But we said who we were with. We were guests of this person, and they called her on the phone, and she was like, yeah, it's my brother, his boyfriend, and 2 friends, which was me and my girlfriend. So she came down to the guard gate and met us, and we got in. So you drive around, and then we parked. It was off this gravel road. We parked, and then over to the left by this great big duck pond was what's their names? The studio that does all that Toy Story Buzz Lightyear shit. Thor, what's that studio called? Fuck, I cannot remember it. But it's that studio that does all the animated Buzz Lightyear movies and Toy Story and all Pixar. So this is back when Pixar was owned by Lucasfilms, or they were a subsidiary of Lucasfilms, something like that. But there was this big house, and I'm not kidding, it was surrounded by an electric fence that you could hear it humming. Zzz, and that was Pixar. I don't know if they called themselves Pixar in 2001. I'm not sure. But the girl was like, yeah, that's that's the place where they make all the animated movies, and they work on some of the Star Wars video games in there. And she's all, we can't even get near that place. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I didn't want to go in there anyway. I'm not going to jerk off to a bunch of pixels. But so we go into this main, it looks kind of homey. Like there's like this really cool, everything is like in wood finish, like polished wood. The floors are hardwood. It's fucking beautiful. We went inside this main hall, and there's like statues and models of everything Star Wars you've ever seen in your life, all throughout this place. And then we went into this back room. Anyway, we kind of snaked around, and there was like one other person there, and we walked past this guy, and she was like, hey, I'm just showing my my brother and his friends where I work. And the guy was like, yeah, okay. Like he didn't even care. So we get to this warehouse, which is where she worked. And how do I describe this? Lucasfilm, George, doesn't throw anything away. Anything. Ralph McQuarrie original paintings, original sketches, all the maquettes, all the costumes, the fucking Death Star model, the Carbonite Han Solo, everything was there in this giant warehouse. And she said there was another facility, another like warehouse offsite at I don't know, another location where they had a lot of other stuff. But this was the main warehouse on the ranch. And I knew more about the stuff than she did, because like she wasn't a Star Wars fan. So we're walking around and she's pointing out things, and I'm like, you know, I'm telling her what this is and what that is, and she was like, well, maybe you should be giving the tour. And I was like, okay. So it's kind of like that last scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark where it's just rows and rows of boxes. It's like that, except there's like a section for artwork. There's like a section for maquettes. There's a section for screen used models. And then that's broken down to a section of weapons. Like, it just goes on and on and on. And we must have been there for a good 3 hours. And I could have stayed there for 3 days. It just felt like you'd walk up, you'd see something, you'd be like, oh my God, that's, and then you'd look and go, oh my God, and you'd go to the next thing. So like all the little maquettes for Jabba the Hutt, when he was like a sort of like a 6-armed slug, and then another maquette of him where he kind of looks like a fat Genghis Khan, and then another, like Phil Tippett maquette of how Jabba eventually ended up looking. Like, it's all right there, all of it. Maquettes of the Wampa, the actual Wampa puppet used, and the crazy thing is it wasn't that big. Like, it was just a little bit bigger than your head. Like, it wasn't that big. That's that when the Wampa comes up for that headshot, when he comes into frame and he's like, "Rah," and you just see his face real quick. That puppet wasn't that big. It just looks big on film. I was just trying to take it all in. This was before iPhones, and there are no photos allowed. None. And there's cameras everywhere, so you can't, if they saw you taking photos or something, you'd get shit canned quick. But so I'm staring at everything, and it's beautiful to behold it all in person right in front of you. And the little monsters from the chess game from Star Wars. There's fucking robots. There's 21B. There's a bunch of R2D2s. There was Cy Snoodles, the actual puppet Cy Snoodles. The screen used puppet Cy Snoodles. And I'm just staring at her lips. It was awesome. There were screen used lightsabers, which looked really cool in person. So they were just wrapping up production on Attack of the Clones is the second prequel, right? So they were just finishing up that one. So there was a bunch of Phantom Menace shit in there. There was some Darth Maul stuff. And there was some blasters that was used in Attack of the Clones, but none of the droids, none of that stuff was there yet, I guess, because they were still finishing up filming with all that stuff. So everything Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and the Phantom Menace, all that stuff was there. Screen used frickin' Carbonite Han Solo hanging up on the wall, but there was like a bunch of him, because in my mind, I thought they just made one, but no, they made several, and they're all hanging up there. Um, there was this giant Death Star model. It's the Death Star from Return of the Jedi, the one, you know, how it's half unmade. It was just there, and this thing was huge. It was like the size of a car, and I did touch it, but I was super respectful to everything. You know, sometimes when I tell people this story, they're like, "Did you steal something?" And I'm like, no, that's like sacrilegious. Like, even just questioning that, even just bringing that up is like, what are you talking about? You know? And people are like, well, they wouldn't have seen, you know, you know, if you took a piece of a Jawa's robe, you know, and you could say you had a piece of it. I'm like, no. I don't know, like, that would be betraying the love I have for those 3 movies. But I did touch the Death Star, but I was super, super careful. Then we got to the costumes, and they're all alphabetized. And when I got to B, I was like, oh my God. So it's all these rows of big, big boxes, and it says Boba Fett. And I'm like, can you pull that down? And she pulls out this giant box, and it's a Boba Fett costume, a screen-used Boba Fett costume. And I saw the Wookiee hairs, and the helmets, and it was crazy that it was all there. So I went to the D, and I saw Darth Vader, and she pulled it down, but it turns out this is one of those Darth Vader costumes that, you know, like when Darth Vader would be at Mervin's, or, you know, some grand opening of a mall, or like in the 70s and 80s, kids would meet superheroes, or, you know, you would go get Darth Vader's autograph at the mall. At Toys R Us, you could meet a stormtrooper. That was a thing in the 70s and the 80s. And these were that Darth Vader costume was one used by those performers. They did have some screen used Darth Vaders, but they were in like some sort of protective locked thing that she didn't have access to. But anyway, I put that Darth Vader helmet on. So I'm at Lucasfilms. I'm at the Skywalker Ranch, and I put on the Darth Vader helmet. And let me tell you, it's way bigger than you think it is. Like, you know, I'm 5'7", and David Prowse and, you know, the other Darth Vaders are all 6 foot something. And it was just crazy how big this fucking helmet was on top of my head. But it was awesome to be inside of it. And so I took that off, and we were walking around just staring at everything, and I'm totally geeking out. And the other 3 people I'm with are just kind of like, meh. Like my girlfriend at the time, she hated Star Wars stuff. And the other 2 people we were with were just kind of, it's kind of neat, you know. But I was like damn near throwing up from excitement. I was just like, oh, you know, there's Luke Skywalker's fucking lightsaber. Like, there it is. Rows and rows of guns and lightsabers and boots and pants and shirts, and like it just went on and on and on with all the stuff. And Sice noodles and just every kind of monster and every creature you can imagine. A lot of the cantina stuff was there. Just it was fucking awesome. I wish I could have took photos, but I didn't want to risk getting thrown out. Anyway, so at the end of the day when we're done, because like 3 hours like went by like that, and then it was like time to leave. Oh, we had lunch. We had lunch at their Lucas cafeteria, and everything was paid for by, you know, everybody has a security badge. You know, the girl that works there had a security badge. And that's how all the employees pay for their food, is they get the food that they want, and they go up to the counter, up to the register. It's very Lucas-y. It's all advanced, right? So she takes her badge, and it reads what food she has. She holds her badge up and goes blip, and it takes it out of her paycheck. So like, they deduct what you eat from your paycheck. So, yeah, I thought that was kind of weird though. But like it wasn't ATM cards or anything like that. It comes straight out of her next paycheck. I thought that was weird. It's very THX 1138. Anyway, so after the cafeteria, she walked us through this employee gift shop. And this is the only way I can prove to you guys that all of this happened, that I was at Skywalker Ranch, okay? These are the little bags that you get at the, when you buy something at the company store. These are for employees. And all I have to show for you guys is I got an employee calendar. That's how the place looks. Can you see it? It's like this beautiful home. It's everything's gorgeous looking. But yeah, this was the calendar. Like I said, it was 2001, so these were like older calendars. This was like from the year before, but everything was expensive. I just wanted something that I could bring home. And then I got this is supposed, this is for employees only. Episode 2, because they were working on the Phantom Menace. And here's my receipt. I don't know if you guys can make that out. Yeah, it says Skywalker Ranch there on the receipt. Anyway, it really did happen. And I got to live every Star Wars fan's dream. I have been in love with Star Wars since 1977. And, watching the making of Star Wars, the making of The Empire Strikes Back, just imagining all those models and, giant-sized AT-ATs and medium-sized AT-ATs and tiny little AT-ATs. I got to see all that stuff. And so I got to live the dream for every Star Wars fan. I got to actually do it. It was fucking incredible. And yeah, when I tell this story, people are like, did you steal something? Did you take something? I'm like, no. That's like spitting on the Mona Lisa. You don't steal a piece of the Mona Lisa to say, I saw the Mona Lisa. Look, here's a piece of paint from a, priceless classic. I'm not going to betray the thing that I love. I'm not going to, Star Wars is like a sacred thing to me. Those first 3 movies are, my childhood. I love those films. It was just such an honor and such a kick to be there. It was fucking amazing. And yeah, it was very, very cool. And anyway, that's my big Star Wars story, my big Skywalker Ranch story. And yeah, if you guys want to hit me up with some questions in the comments, I'll try and answer them as best I can. But man, it was so much fun. And, it was surreal. Everything from the armed guard at the gate with the X-Wing fighter insignia to, touching an actual screen-used R2-D2. It was incredible. If you are a Star Wars fan, you understand just how, incredible it was to be there. If you're not a Star Wars fan, I can't get it across to you guys how amazing it is to look at a screen-used Yoda puppet. And there were a bunch of them. And there was a bunch of Tauntauns. I mean, everything you guys can think of was there, and I got to see it up close and personal with no security escort. It was amazing. But the next day, George was going to be back, and she wanted to hurry up and get us out of there. So, like I said, we were only there for like maybe 3.5 hours. I was talking a mile a minute on the way home, though. It was incredible. Anyway, that's a fun memory of mine. And I knew I was only going to get to be there once in my life. I'll never get back there. But man, it was fun. Anyway, that's my Skywalker Ranch story. And yeah, I will talk to you guys later. May the Force be with you.